Hello, everybody. How are you doing? So, as you can see behind me, I actually have a new shelf, and I actually bought this shelf last week. I just got it a couple of days ago. I bought two shelves. I actually assembled this shelf, and it was the first shelf that I assembled of the two, and I used a knife to assemble it because I didn't have a screwdriver, and it took a lot of effort to use a knife to drive the screws in. I also used my scissors, and at the end, I actually chipped my knives. But fortunately, I borrowed a screwdriver from my friend the next day, and I was able to use the screwdriver to assemble my second shelf. But both of the shelves are still empty, so I'm gonna take this weekend to rearrange my books and, yeah, hopefully make my room a bit less messy, more organized. But in this video, I am going to talk about this book. This is the last book that I finished in March, and it's called The Girl Who Played Go by Shan Sa. So Shan Sa is actually a French-Chinese author, and this book was originally published in French as La Joueuse de Go. The French edition was published in 2001. The edition that I'm holding right now is the vintage edition, and this one is translated by Adriana Hunter. So The Girl Who Played Go is a war novel. It's a historical fiction with a little bit of romance added into it. In this novel, we actually have two characters, and they are telling their stories alternatingly. There are altogether about 90 chapters in this book, but each of the chapters are super short. Some of them, well, most of them are just around 2 pages long. And the two main characters of this novel are, one is the eponymous The Girl Who Played Go, and the other one is the Japanese soldier who joins the army campaign to invade China. So the story in this novel takes place in around the 1930s. It was during that time the Japanese invaded northeastern China. The story takes place somewhere in Manchuria. If you have seen my video on The Last Quarter of the Moon by Chizijian before, that novel, part of it also takes place in 1930s, around the time of Japanese invasion of China. But in this novel, that event actually plays a much more significant role. It actually is, in fact, the background of this novel. So this novel kind of tells the story of those aforementioned two characters. The first half of this novel pretty much just tells their story separately because they have not met each other, and in the middle they start to interact with each other, and as you may have guessed, they interact with each other in a game of Go. Basically, this is how the story goes. One, we have the Japanese soldier who has to leave his family in order to join the army to invade China, and at first he was just telling us the readers how he's what other stuff that he's been doing at the war, which pretty much about fighting people, killing people, and all those stuff like that. And he ends up getting stationed in a place called 1,000 Win, which is where our other main character lives. It's a town called 1,000 Win, and over there he just pretty much chill because not really much fighting going on except for activities by the resistance fighters in the town. And so the Japanese soldiers will have to fight them, and there are all this fighting going on in that town between the Japanese soldiers and the resistance fighters. And our Japanese soldier guy, he's just, aside from doing all of those fighting against the resistance fighters, he pretty much just chill in that town, just exploring a little bit of how he feels good about joining the army, how it is really something that is really glorious, really honorable for him to do, to do something for the country, to his family, and all those stuff. But that was more of his initial attitude on what he's doing. As we progress through the novel, he seems to have a little bit of shift in his thinking. He started to get a little bit disillusioned by what he's doing in the army, getting to see people getting tortured, having to kill a lot of people, initially thought it was fun, but it's not anymore. And at the same time, while he's in the town of 1,000 Win, he is also just kind of like chill with prostitutes and do all those things. So in parallel, another story is about the girl who played Go. She lives in this town also, and she's a 16-year-old girl. She's just doing what 16-year-old girl does, I guess, going to school, hanging out with her friends. She describes herself as a bit of a not like other girls kind of way, because of the fact that, while other girls are a little bit more shallow, apparently she likes to play Go, and the place where she plays Go is actually frequented by men who are older, and she's like the only teenage girl over there who plays Go, and she would like just play Go with the other people around there. So it was a little bit unconventional for her and her family and her friends, and it's just one of the things that she really likes doing, and she does a lot. But that's not the only thing that she talks about in her side of the narrative. Since she's a young girl, she also has things that young people would be inclined towards, which are, of course, attraction to the opposite gender. So basically, she met these two guys. One is named Min, and another one is Jing. And soon there is this love triangle going on, and she was having some difficulties trying to choose who she wants to be with. But the thing is, Min and Jing are both resistance fighters, and one day they got arrested alongside with other members of the resistance fighters, and things are not going really well with our girl. Oh, and by the way, for both of these characters, our main characters, we actually don't know their names. For the Japanese soldier, we don't know their name, but for the girl who played Go, actually we know her name at the end of the novel. Like, let's just say that we don't know her name, because literally, if you don't look at the back of the book, you don't know her name. But yeah, essentially something happened when Min and Jing, who joined the resistance fighters, they got arrested, and some bad stuff happened. And soon our girl becomes kind of sad, and yeah, she felt really messed up, and so she started to spend more of her time in the square of 1,000 Winds, where she plays Go, and that's pretty much how she copes with her daily life and stress. And it is there that she meets our Japanese soldier, and they just kind of like play with each other. They play for a few days, and so afterwards we just see what happens between the two of them. So I'm not gonna continue to talking about what's going on at the end of the novel, but I'm just gonna say that because this one is a historical novel, and it's not actually a fun and games type of novel, it's best not to expect like a really super happy ending. Yeah, I'm just gonna say that the ending is quite an unhappy one. It's a little bit messed up. So in general, I actually gave this book about 5 stars in Goodreads, but then occasionally I do feel a little bit generous when it comes to my star rating. I would say I would give it about 4.5, 4.4 kind of rating. And there are elements that I like in this book. First one is actually how the story is narrated. Each of the chapters are really short, and I like short chapters because I feel like I can read them faster, and every time I finish a chapter, I actually feel a little bit more accomplished with myself. But yeah, so that's one of the nice stuff about this, is that it feels like the book is really fast paced, even though the actual action in this book is not that fast paced. But another downside of having that short chapter is that it feels like it sometimes it feels a little bit too fast. Like you feel like you are rushing through this book, and it feels like you're not really exploring the characters deeply. And there are cases in which I do feel that this is how it goes. Like, I'm not really seeing so deep into the characters, or I'm not really seeing so in detail into what they're doing, the actions that they're doing. Yeah, there are a little bit of something that is lost with that by doing that, the short chapters. The second thing that I really like is the kind of like the dreamy quality of this novel. It actually started really grounded, starting with the soldier just pretty much doing his war fighting stuff, and the girl just doing her um, typical daily life, going to school routine. And it was really grounded. But as the story progresses, as the whole world of the girl kind of crumbles apart, and the soldier just kind of get disillusioned with the war, and until when they're actually interacting with each other in the game of Go, it starts to get a little bit more dreamy, a little bit more psychological. We start to see more scenes in which the girl is dreaming about her love triangle, her Go game, her pretty much her stuff. We start to get more of those things, and I feel that it starts to kind of like it get lifted away from reality, and I actually like that because it feels like some sort of an escapism, not only from the part of the characters, but we also feel that way when reading this book. So I like that. I really enjoyed it. And the third one is actually the ending. I really love the ending, even though it's a little bit depressing. But somehow I feel that it's kind of powerful. I guess some people would say that it's a little bit too gratuitous, maybe, considering the amount of violence that is involved. Yeah, bit of spoiler. um, but I really like that. I really like how this story is resolved, and it was kind of satisfying to read. And I say that in a, I don't know. It feels ironic to say that because I guess to some people that ending would be something that is opposite of a satisfying ending. But for me, it feels realistic when you take into account like how dreamy this whole novel feels. By the way, if you are not the type of person who plays Go or know the technicality of Go, like me, I don't think this that is going to detract from your reading experience in this book, because I don't think it is something that is really delved deeply inside this novel. It's pretty much just, I would say, a plot device. And I'm not sure if this novel actually explores further on the nuances of Go as a game, or the nuances behind the philosophy of Go, because I am not familiar with Go myself. But I guess those who play Go maybe can judge this a little bit better if there are any like things related to Go that are weaved into the story. But there's one thing that I actually noticed as I read this book is that the chapters, all of the 90 chapters, small chapters, are told in alternating fashion. So basically it starts with the soldier's chapter, and then the girl, soldier, and the girl. It alternates like that. And when I was reading, I kind of had this realization that it actually mimics the turn of the players in a one-on-one board game like Go or chess. That kind of reference just feel a little bit interesting to me. But yeah, when it comes to strategy games like chess, I am strategy games are not for me. I'm not very good at those. I tried playing chess before, but that was when I was 4 years old, and now I already forgot all of the moves. I also learned Chinese chess, but I forgot those as well. So yeah, strategy board games are totally not for me. Anyway, let me know if you have read this book. Is there any part that you like or part that you don't like? How do you find this book? I am very interested to know. For me, I would say I consider this book to be quite an enjoyable read. It's a little bit depressing, not so much something that you would read if you want to feel good, but it does feel a bit fast paced due to how it is being written, although the actions are not exactly that fast paced. And it's a tragedy. Yeah, the book is a tragedy. So just don't expect a happy ending. So that's it today for The Girl Who Played Go by Shan Sa. If you like to see more of this content, you can press subscribe. So I'll see you again next time with more videos. So until then, bye bye.